Hello, everybody. Welcome from quarantine. I don't know what day it is, day 468, something like that. I'm just making this video. I want to make a quick little video to talk to you about travel. Little things, nothing big, nothing crazy, but little things that might help you if you are thinking about traveling. As a lot of you know, I do travel a lot. In the last 2 years, I've been to over 22 countries, 22 something, I don't know. I've been over 20 countries in like 5 or 6 states in the last 26 months or so. So yeah, it's been a journey. It's been fun, but there are a few tips and tricks that you might want to know. Of course, every country's different. They all vary. It really just depends on what you're into. But for me, there are a few things you should know. So let's just get right into it. When you're at an airport, in a new country, there'll be taxis. There's always going to be taxis, and in most countries, taxis are the biggest scam around. Always. They're always going to overcharge. They're always going to try and get over on you, especially if it's a place where English isn't the first language. They'll use English, but you're just so hectic. You just got off a plane. You're tired. You want to go to your Airbnb or your hostel or your hotel or wherever you're staying, and they'll kind of pressure you into getting in the car. In some instances, they might even grab your luggage from you and put it in the car, and you just go along with the flow. And I've seen a lot of people be scammed because of this. I've talked to other travelers while I was traveling who've told me that they were scammed this way. Sometimes it's your only option. I get it. A lot of these countries, not a lot, a few of these countries do have rules against Uber and car riding, ride sharing apps. But you can find, for the most part, you can find an Uber or Grab or whatever, depending on where you're at, and just research into it, and you can find some kind of ride sharing app. Even if they're not at the actual airport, sometimes they're banned, and there's like this mob mentality with taxis. You can still probably catch one. You just have to walk to the main street. I mean, if you're carrying luggage, it's kind of a hassle. I do it. I know other people get irritated by it, but it might save you, 20, 30, 40 bucks. In some cases with these scams, it could save you 100, 200 bucks. So kind of look into that is all I'm saying. Also, be careful with the ride sharing apps too. I was in Phuket, Thailand, a place that's notorious for scamming people, and one of the big scams is on Uber. They will ask you, it happened to me multiple times, they called me and told me to cancel after I got an Uber coming. They said cancel it, give me cash, and it'll be cheaper. Now the problem is I only had my card at one point. I didn't have any more cash, and I wasn't trying to get cash out because I was literally just going to an airport and leaving the country. And they want you to cancel. I don't know if that, a lot of times you get charged if you cancel, depending on where the person is on the Uber, or in this case it was Grab, which is used in Southeast Asia a lot. So they can try and get over you that way, but also sometimes they send other drivers. It's very weird. I've been in a few countries, England included, where I called an Uber and somebody with a different license plate, a different person showed up, but they had my name. Then they asked, "Oh, Matt, are you Matt?" "Yes, I'm Matt." But it was it's just sketchy that way. I mean, I've never come in contact with someone trying to take me to the wrong place or anything, but the fact that like you want me to get into your random car and you're not the person that's listed on the thing is sketchy. Don't do it. I've done it a few times. I'm more of a risk taker, but it's not something I plan on doing very often or maybe ever again. I just was caught up in the moment. So I'm here to tell you about things that you shouldn't do that I probably have done and you're going to benefit from. Other than that, think about your money for a second. This is another thing that bothers me when traveling. You're going to have to use the currency that the other country has, right? Don't get it at the airport. If you can help it, do not buy cash at the other airport. First off, cards are used pretty much worldwide. Most countries you can get by with your card on most occasions. Now, there's a little bit I want to get back into a little later in this video about your cards and what cards you should use. But for the most part, you can get certain things with your card, like Grab or an Uber. Those are very, very, very handy with a card because they're already programmed into the computer, so you don't have to deal with the person and trying to figure out how much it's going to be, whatever. It's already pre-programmed, it's in there, especially in a country where English isn't the first language, or whatever language you speak, you don't happen to speak in that country. You should look into using ride shares for that reason too, because then you don't have to communicate with the driver if they don't speak your language. They know where you're going, you know where you're going. Just kind of follow it, on your own GPS, just so you make sure you're going in the right direction and you're good. But you can get to your hotel, or you can get to your accommodation, wherever you're staying, using some sort of card. Usually, if you have to get cash, you have to get cash. Like in Cuba, they won't accept any American cards. You have to transfer to cash, and if you're at the airport, you're gonna have to do that. But what I recommend in situations like that is just take a little tiny bit out, and then when you get into town, you can find better rates. In the case of Cuba, a lot of people want US dollars on like people you meet, other like tour guides or other people that seem cool. As long as it doesn't look sketch, you can probably give them US dollars to get CUC or COC, whatever you want. The Cuban pesos, don't worry about those, but you want the tourist CUC. So go about that in that situation. Also, cards. Let's go back into cards. Cards are important. You want to get a credit card. If you don't have a credit card, get one. I mean, if you don't want to put a lot of money on a credit card, I don't really have any debt. I don't have a lot of credit cards. I only have one, and I made sure that it's one with no foreign transaction fees. This comes in handy, trust me, because I'll use my Bank of America card, and everywhere I use it, I get charged a little extra because it has transaction fees. So sometimes it's 30 cents, sometimes it's $1 something, but it adds up. So if you do a whole trip for 2 weeks, and every time you use your card, every time you purchase something, it's this much. I mean, it ended up being like over $50 before. So look into a card with no foreign transaction fees. I have a Capital One credit card that does the job for me. I have a limit on it. I don't want to raise the limit. I like the limit at where it's at. Because it gives me enough to travel without trying to go over my means. Use that to your advantage. That'll come in handy in the long run. In some of these countries, a lot of these countries, just now I was in Scandinavia, Denmark and Sweden, they don't really have cash. I mean, they have the crown, the krona, but they don't really use them. Everything's card. So put your card in, and it's 2 seconds, I mean? It's just like, everything is pretty modernized in a lot of these countries. Third world countries is a little different. You have to get cash, and I get that. But try and get that card. It's very important. Also, though, when you are using your card, remember, a lot of times, in fact, pretty much every country I've been to, it'll ask you, do you want to pay in the currency of the country you're in, or do you want to pay in American? Always, 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 I can't stress this enough, always pay with their currency, whatever currency it is. Don't try and pay in US dollars just because it says US dollars, because it will cost more. It will always cost more. Always pick their currency, whatever their currency is. Either way, you're going to get billed in American dollars, but it'll be cheaper. I promise you that. So please, 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 if you don't take anything from this video, take that. Also, on these things, if you're looking for something to do, I mean, especially if you're traveling alone, if you're with a couple, same thing. If you're with a group, same thing. You want to find something to do in this country, you want to look around, you want to go on a tour type of thing. Try not to book big tours. Try to stay away from TripAdvisor. In fact, you know what? Stay away from TripAdvisor in general. A lot of these are places have their, TripAdvisor ranked them. It's all a money scheme, and it's all about, there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes into that I don't want to get into on this video. I don't want to fight with TripAdvisor, but please, let's try and stay away from that. Instead, go with like an Airbnb experience. Good thing about Airbnb experiences, for the most part, you got to be diligent and you got to look into things. But for the most part, they're very small groups. I mean, 5 people max for most things that I do on Airbnb experience. Plus, they're unique. You get a very unique perspective of something. It's not so corporate tour, big, where everyone, all these American tourists, very, I don't want to say it, but like a cruise. It's not full of people that can't keep up. You'll have fun. Smaller groups, you get intimate and you'll know a bit about the people. I personally am the guy who's always talking to the tour guide in between spots that we go to, and I kind of build a little friendship with them, at least to know a little bit about them, because I'm also interested in their business. I mean, I think I'd be a good tour guide, maybe. Thinking about maybe some street art tours in San Francisco. Let me know if you're interested in that. Maybe I'll start that up on Airbnb. Also, if you're not into Airbnb, there is a thing called Meetup. It's an app. I believe, I'm very new to this, but I believe it's more for locals from other countries, like expats as they call them, locals from other countries who now live in this country and want to find things to do, or a group of people. They join these groups on this app called Meetup, and there's things like I was supposed to go to a comedy show in Copenhagen. There's also pub crawls. Pub crawls are good. I try to do pub crawls if I'm on solo trips, at least one, because they've turned out to be some of the best experiences in my life. I'm not a big drinker, but I meet people from all over, especially if I'm staying at a hostel. Hostel pub crawls are really fun. You meet people from all over the globe. You have a good time. Everyone's there. Just the vibe and the mood is pretty good for the most part. So look into pub crawls, and a lot of these pub crawls in certain countries can also be a little bit of a history lesson, which is also very nice. Plus, you get kind of a local's feel for things. When I've done pub crawls, I don't go to famous places where that are like super overrun with tourists. I go to more like hole-in-the-wall bars that are awesome, sometimes totally unique. I've been to silent discos on pub crawls. I've been to places with like fiddles playing, like weird crazy stuff that's totally different than anything you think, and they usually end up, the last one stop is usually at like a nightclub, so you can dance, you can go crazy, whatever you want to do. Check those out. Those are definitely important. Look into all types of tourist activities to do. I like to go on street art tours, obviously. If you've seen my content, I love street art. But you can also, do photography tours. You probably see my content. I've done one or two of those. And it's fun. It's a good experience without getting a little too overcrowded. I don't do the tours where they have like an umbrella and they're like, follow me, or the ones that have like the earpiece. It's just, that's a whole different vibe I don't even want to get into. I don't want people to like look at me as a tourist. I consider myself a traveler, a backpacker, different a little bit than a tourist. But good things, good ideas, good things to look into. Just a little different, right off the beaten path. Also, if you're looking for flights, you're looking for good flights. My routine is a little weird because I travel so much and I try to go somewhere every other month. There's a little bit of an overlap with my trips. I'm usually booking a flight to one country while I'm leaving to go to another country, and somewhere in the middle of that I'm booking hotels for a trip in between both of those, if that makes any sense. Trip here, trip here, trip here. Over here I'm booking the flight for this trip, but I'm also booking hotels for this trip as I'm getting ready to go on this trip. This one's already been booked 2 trips ago. So I have a weird system with that. But it works out with pricing and stuff. I always find good deals, and I find the places I want to stay at and the locations I want to stay at pretty easily. And I've never had really any cancellations on Airbnbs or things like that. Maybe once or twice, and obviously COVID, I had, over $1,000 worth of stuff I had to cancel and try and get the money back for. So, you're kind of hit or miss with that. But one thing I'm finding out more and more that I haven't practiced a lot, but right about now, one-way flights seem to be pretty cheap. In fact, some cases, one-way flights are better than getting a round trip. Usually, round trip is a little cheaper. But what I found out lately is it's relatively the same. Plus, if you're like me and you want to go to a country and you want to experience the entire country or the entire state, if you're staying in the United States or something, or the province in up north in Canada or states in Mexico, you probably want to go to more than one place. And it's good if you can find a one way where you start here and it ends over here at this place. You know what I mean? That way you don't have to circle back and come back to this city. So look into that, because also getting back to this place is going to cost money. So factor in the money that it takes to get back from here to this place and then take off. Cool thing, sometimes if you are doing the whole round trip and you're going to end back up in this place, try and stay in a different neighborhood, because a lot of these places have cool different feels for them. Like in London, I stayed in East End of London and then the West End of London, because I circled back. Totally different. If you know London, East End and West End are totally different. I stayed in Soho and I stayed in Shoreditch, which are, I mean, they got their similarities, but they're different. So look into that. That's pretty cool. You can check out two whole different sides of the city if you need to. That way you're not, when you're in this city, you're not scrambling to get to like the north of the city. You can just focus on stuff like here when you first get into town, and then when you're like a day come back a day early, and you can check out the northern part of the town before you leave and come back home. That's something else to look into. Other than that, have fun on your trip. You know, explore the world, see things. That's all I want to do. I know my stuff looks pretentious online. I know things, it might be too much, and it might be overwhelming you or whatever. But please, if you have any questions or you want to talk to anyone about travel or have, you know, I'll be 100% honest with you. I'm not the kind of person that'll try to answer something that I don't know the answer to. If I don't, I'll tell you I don't. I will try and help you find the answer. I wish traveling was my job. I wish I got paid to travel. For now, it's all coming out of my own account. So enjoy. Try and take these things into play. I did make a few notes here, which is not normally like me. I didn't even write notes in school. It's probably why I didn't finish. But things I do have, main things: cabs, ride sharing. Remember, try and find ride sharing. Some of these countries too, you can take a bus. It's very quick, or even the metro. That's always the best. If they have a metro that goes from the airport to town, definitely take that. It's like BART. I take BART into San Francisco airport all the time. Second, money exchange. Always remember, try not to use airports or places like that, because they will rip you off. The best is to find a bank. Certain banks, look into it before you leave. Do research. I mean, come on, that's the least you can do before you go to a new country. Also, credit cards, no transaction fees, very important. Use country currency, even on cards. The most important thing you can do, use that country's currency. Do not turn it into United States dollars. It will screw you in the end. Try and use Airbnb experiences. I try to book at least 2 or 3 anytime I go in any country, and it's usually the best part of my whole trip, especially if you're solo traveling. Number 5, look into one-way flights. That's something I'm also going to do at the same time. So I know it's a long video. I hope you got something out of it. I mean, it's quarantine. If you spent 20 minutes here talking to me, or at least listening to me talk, and stuttering, because I'm not going to edit this, then I mean, your days are just as boring as mine. But I'm glad that we came to an understanding. You can learn a few things from that. I'm trying to help a few people right now plan their trips to certain places. And during this time, it's kind of hard to do. But if you have any questions, please ask me. I'm just sitting here at home. Till next time, enjoy yourself. Please be well, be healthy, stay inside, stop going out. I see all you people running around my house on the trails. It's not good, but you gotta do what you gotta do. I gotta get these cheeks off, so I feel it. Have a good one. I'll see you next time.